Hi everybody, welcome to my review of the new Walter Saltz movie, On the Road. Before we start, let me introduce you to my new fellow co-reviewer. Say hello, Hipster Tim. Thank you, Hipster Tim. Back to the movie. On the Road is based on a beat classic by Jack Kerouac, the book of the same name, On the Road. And it just happens to be my favorite book of all time. That's right, I've read this masterpiece several times, and it doesn't feel in bringing me anything but pure joy. This is a really awesome read. The question here is, how well does a book like that translate to the big screen? You got any input on that, Hipster Tim? Interesting. Thank you for that. Thank you for the input. We talk about that later. To make a long story short, the movie itself is not entirely satisfying. First of all, one has to admit, the novel already has a very thin narrative. The narrative is not very strong. What makes it all work in a novel is the prose by Kerouac. It's stream of consciousness, it's a vivid living text. It's a description of things and this beatnik literature that really makes it work. And that's something that is really hard to translate from one medium to another, because one also has to see this is a book, that's a movie. So these are two very different things. And we're not talking about a straight adaptation of a Harry Potter novel, of Twilight, or of the Hunger Games or anything. So it's really hard to translate something like that to film, and one can see when watching the movie that the movie makers and definitely the script writers had problems finding a way to bring the story, the very thin plot, to the big screen. Hipster Tim, do you think you want to contribute anything? Sounds good, Hipster Tim. Keep fiddling around. Let's look at the good things of the movie first. It boasts a really surprising performance by Garrett Hedlund. You know, the guy from Tron Legacy, the son of the dude in the movie, the son of Jeff Bridges. In here he plays Dean Moriarty, who's the stand-in for the real-life Neil Cassidy. And he's really good in it. Surprisingly good. When I heard they cast him in the role, I was actually kind of afraid, because he has this kind of teeny-ish look to himself. So I was a bit afraid, but he's good. He's good in it. Sam Riley in the role of Sal Paradise, who's the stand-in for real-life Jack Kerouac, is a little bit bland, but that's okay in my book, because even when you read the novel, it's a character that's not really well drawn out, even in the book. So that's okay by me. Where the movie comes apart a little bit is with the female roles, and especially Kristen Stewart. You remember Kristen Stewart, Twilight girl, you know, the girl who lacks the ability to close her mouth entirely. She plays Mary Lou, and she's the first wife of Dean Moriarty in the movie. And she seems to be entirely miscast for me. Entirely miscast. It's a role that asks for a woman, and what we get is this girl who's still in her Twilight phase and just desperately tries to play against her Bella Swan type and just fails. And I mean, she's not a bad actress. She showed us some good performances in Adventureland and a couple other movies, but here it just doesn't come together. It really doesn't come together, and I can't really judge the role of Kirsten Dunst, really, because she doesn't have very much screen time, and that goes for a lot of the other supporting actors and actresses. We have Steve Buscemi, who's kind of wasted in like a minute role, and so is Amy Adams and Elizabeth Moss from Mad Men. But there's actually one actor who stands out, and that's Viggo Mortensen. He plays Old Bo Lee, who's the stand-in for the real-life William Burroughs, the author of Naked Lunch. another beatnik classic, and he's just, I mean, he's amazing. He's a great actor. He's always been a great actor. He's made some really good movies and shown his talent in a lot of films. And he's just great in this one. And I wish he would have more screen time than just 5 minutes. I wish he would have had like the entire film. If they would only have focused on his character, it would have been like the best movie ever. No, but he's like really good. I really enjoyed that. But all the other supporting characters and supporting actors, they don't really contribute anything to the very, very thin plot. And that's kind of a letdown. That's definitely a big minus for the movie. Hipster Tim, do you think you're ready to say something meaningful? Okay, let's address the real issue here with the movie, apart from all the other little nitpicky things. The real issue is the lack of soul in the movie, and that's the major contributor to the eventual failure of On the Road, the movie. Um, when you read the book, you really get a sense of freedom, of the desire to live on the road, to experience life right at this moment, to really live, to get all these emotions and all these inspirational things going. And the movie just doesn't do that. It doesn't do that, which is maybe okay, but worst of all, it doesn't do anything. It didn't give me any great emotions, any great inspirations or so. When the movie's over, it's all just kind of forgettable. It's a lot of stuff happening, but all the events are either rushed or brushed over way too quickly, and you never really get a sense. You never really get a sense of what's really going on. I mean, it has great cinematography, fitting music. It really, really tries hard to create an atmosphere, but it just never comes together. It just never does. Events are just, they just happen. Stuff. It's the movie's like stuff happening, and you never really get a sense for the characters or how any of the stuff that's happening contributes to them growing or developing. Um, and that's really the problem here. That's the problem at hand. In the end, the movie's over and you just think, meh, yeah, what's on Netflix tonight? Maybe ABC has a good show. You know, it's just very sad. It's very sad, especially since I really love this book, and it just confirms in me that On a Road is one of those books that's simply unfilmable. And I know that's been said for so many books that have been adapted successfully into good movies, but for this book it's probably really true because again, there's no real narrative going on, and it's all just in the prose, in the beat prose by Kerouac, and that doesn't translate. It simply didn't translate in the movie, and if anybody's ever able to pull it off somehow, I would be glad to watch it. I would be so glad. I would love to watch that stuff. But in this case, it simply didn't work. Am I right, Hipster Tim? Hmm? Is that so? I appreciate your input. I really do. And I say thank you for watching, and I see you next time.